While Buffy the Vampire Slayer was in its final season and Angel was in its fourth season, Joss Whedon's third TV series, Firefly, aired in September of 2002. A sci-fi space western in the future about a ragtag ensemble of colourful mercenaries trying to make ends meet and avoid the bureaucratic superstate of the Alliance. The main character, Malcolm Reynolds, played by Nathan Fillion, fought on the losing side of a war against the Alliance. Their control then expanded to encompass more worlds. So Reynolds and his crew tried to basically eke out a meagre living among the unaligned worlds, dealing with outlaws, thieves, pirates, and underworld lowlives, though they are forced on occasion to also deal with the Alliance. Then occasionally they face another more terrifying adversary, the Reavers. Little is known about them, and the TV series doesn't explore them in any great detail, beyond the fact that they're described as being cannibals. When I say the series aired in September of 2002, it wasn't the two-part pilot episode that aired first. Serenity was the name of that episode, incidentally, as well. The second episode, The Train Job, which was designed as a second one-hour pilot, was the first episode of the series to air. Serenity wouldn't air until December. So the series was being shown out of order. This is largely due to the fact that the studio, Fox, didn't have confidence in Serenity as a pilot and felt it lacked sufficient action. In some respects, this feels very familiar, like the beginning of the original Star Trek series back in 1966, when NBC decided against airing the first pilot, The Cage, and instead commissioned a second pilot episode with more action, Where No Man Has Gone Before. Firefly was cancelled after its 10th episode, which was, of course, War Stories, though the remaining 4 episodes would be included on the DVD box set. The series has become a cult classic and greatly appreciated over the years. The entire series has, of course, been shown on countless channels across the world, and although it's unfortunate the series never continued, as I've said before, the fact that it was a brilliant, short-lived series just makes it all the better in some ways, actually. Firefly is 14 fantastic episodes of television, engaging and believable characters, great stories, a wonderful setting and universe. It didn't continue for years and years and slowly decline in quality like what happens to many TV series. It ended prematurely, but it ended when it was great. As a result, it will always be great, even though its cancellation was the wrong decision. And so with that long introduction out of the way, we turn to its motion picture, which was made possible by the enormous fan support the series received after its cancellation. Amazingly, a cinematic adaptation of the show was made and released in 2005, also called Serenity, just like the pilot episode. It continued the storyline of the show, but was designed in such a way that it could be watched without needing to see a single episode of the show. Written and directed by Joss Whedon, appropriately, Serenity is among my favourite sci-fi films. Despite its relatively small budget, it looks like a much more expensive production. Brilliantly paced, great effects, a great blend of solid action and humour, and horror as well, it would have to be said. And the music by David Newman is among my favourite scores. The story is exciting, the characters are likeable, fun and engaging, great acting, and there's a lot of substance behind the plot. It feels high stakes and a fitting continuation and conclusion to the story arc of the series. Along with giving every primary cast member something really decent to do, Whedon produces a genuinely thought-provoking concept in the story, which is that lurking beneath a manufactured utopia is something truly hideous, ugly, and evil. The crew are forced to deal with the consequences of sheltering the Tams, and in particular River Tam, who harbours a secret that would potentially seriously weaken the Alliance's reputation and power if that secret was to become public. I wasn't really a big fan of the idea of turning River into a kind of Buffy-style kick-ass tough chick. I thought that it was a bit of a stretch and more of a cheap excuse to insert some cool fight scenes into the movie. Now that being said, it does work quite well, but I think it was interesting enough for her to just be a psychic who learned some Parliament secrets that she wasn't supposed to. Turning her into a weapon as well seemed unnecessary, but, like I say, some cool fight scenes all the same. Now, Mal is given some solid character development, being at last able to deliver a bloody nose to the Alliance, which seems fitting given how devastating the defeat was for him at the end of the war. He's also forced to make a choice to return to being the man he was before the war, the idealist who fought for what was right, as opposed to the cynical mercenary and petty criminal he'd been reduced to in recent years. He chose to actually take a stand and fight for something he believed in, something he believed was right, a moral crusade. But this can only happen when he comes face to face with an actual mercenary who doesn't care about anything. While Mal may claim that he's beyond idealistic concerns and the good fight, in truth, his conflict with the central villain, the operative, played brilliantly by Chiwetel Ejiofor, helps him rediscover an aspect of his own humanity. Thinking about it again, I think Serenity perfectly bookends Mal's personal journey. As Shepherd Book tries to explain to him, the only thing that will get him through this situation is belief. Initially, Mal thinks he's talking about God, but he's actually just trying to inspire Mal to become the hero he used to be, to get him to fight for a cause again that's in his heart, rather than just running and trying to hide. So that character journey for Mal is probably the most complete of any of the characters. It's also packed with very memorable dialogue, it's very quotable, there's some hilarious one-liners in there thanks to Whedon's trademark wit. Like I say, the entire cast gets to shine with all of the characters having their moments to be great, to be heroic, and at their very best. The climax of the film is brilliantly executed, from the crash landing scene, the space battles, the bloodbath shootout with the Reavers, and ultimately Mal's final fight with the operative. I think there's a lot made of Whedon's most notable works. So Buffy the Vampire Slayer's musical episode, Once More with Feeling, the episode Hush, The Body. As impressive spectacles as they are, I did find them a tad self-indulgent and pretentious. His later films, Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, were some of the best Marvel Cinematic Universe films, but ultimately they weren't his own creation. But Buffy, Angel, and Firefly were his own creations, and I think Firefly, and Serenity in particular, are Whedon's best works. So with really three-dimensional human characters, some decent laughs, brilliant action set pieces, and a very emotionally compelling story, Serenity is an enjoyable adventure and a real easy watch. A film I've watched many times and never gotten bored with. That about does it for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.